I would steal the adult bikes, like carry it out of the compound. And I taught myself how to ride. And these are the big adult bikes with the bar. So I would stick my foot underneath and I would ride sideways down the hill. But if I didn't go out there and do it, when would I do it, right? Because I can wait until I have someone to do it with me, but I'm not guaranteed to be here tomorrow. So that's kind of how I live my life. You and I aren't guaranteed we'll be here Monday, right?
True.
So if I wait until I find someone to do it with me, that time may never come, right?
Okay.
So I think that has kind of molded me to have this personality where I can just pack a bag and go away for 2 weeks. And I usually don't have an agenda. I figure out what I want to do when I get there.
Ladies and gentlemen, today it's a special treat. I'm catching up with someone who I really admire. I am an onlooker looking in from outside of her window, it feels like, into her life. And I'm always so inspired by her. My guest today is a mechanical engineer who lives in Austin, Texas. And today on the Reinvent You podcast, we are going to dive into how she lives fearlessly, her biggest challenge and how she overcame it. And then we're going to sort of round it off with on her take on how to bridge the gap between whites and all the other races, because we got some problems, people. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the Reinvent You podcast, Miss Faith Chalmers. Welcome, Faith.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited to have some real talk here.
Hi.
And not that the other ones haven't been real talk, but I'm really excited because I feel like this is such a pivotal time in society. We have a lot of stuff coming up, but we don't want to jump to the deep stuff, so fast. Right now, just kind of give us a little peek into who is Faith and what makes her tick.
So an elevator speech of Faith.
Yes.
So I think I would describe myself as more of an adrenaline junkie, very rational, driven woman. My free time, I like to be out either endurance running 10 miles, riding my bike, 50 miles, right? And also, I also am passionate about my 9 to 5 job as a mechanical engineer in the medical device industry. So I have an opportunity where I have a position that would do make a difference in people's lives. So that's kind of what I do during the day.
Oh, that's so cool. And see, I just knew you were a mechanical engineer. I didn't know it was medical devices actually until today. And so do you ever get the urge to want to branch out of that? Like, not just medical devices, maybe you want to like, oh, we're building a new highway, a new bridge. Are there any interest in something else?
So yeah, this is all I've had. I interned when I grew up in Minnesota. So Minnesota is home. Interned with Medtronic, which is an extremely large medical device company, and I've really been there. I love the passionate, and actually my role now is a project manager. So I manage the development of the project. And when you get into the operating room and you see your devices working, it's very empowering what we do. So it's hard to pull away, and also for job stability, right? It doesn't fluctuate as much as other with as the economy changes. In terms of even job security, this is a very stable industry to be in.
Right. What made you want to become a mechanical engineer? Because I remember when I'm a little older, we know, than Faith, that little baby.
I don't see any grays. You're good.
Well, I'm a bit back. Yeah, I got a bunch though, right here on the side. It's like I'm so stressed out. I love having my own business, but it is stressful. My goodness. So I remember graduating from high school and something like mechanical engineer never crossed my mind. Yeah. And I feel like that is because I never knew anyone in my life who was a mechanical engineer. Now my brother-in-law he's a civil engineer. And so, in Louisiana, because he works, with oil rigs and all that, but what motivated you? I mean, did you see examples of people who are mechanical engineers, or did you just look in a catalog and go, a lot of money, more money, more, that one?
That's a part into it, but so it's kind of my personality. I've always been a tomboy, and I don't know if well, no one in your podcast knows, I grew up in Kenya. So I was born in Kenya, Africa, and that's East Africa. And I've always been a tomboy. And in the 80s, I am older too. You know, my parents, I lived in a 20-acre farm, and my parents we didn't have a car, still public transportation. And so when people would visit my dad, they would come in bicycles. And girls at the time, right, they play with dolls. So I learned when their dolls were inside drinking tea, I would steal their adult bikes, like carry it out of the compound. And I taught myself how to ride. And these are the big adult bikes with the bar. So I would stick my foot underneath and I would ride sideways down the hill and like hanging off the side. I have like a chipped tooth from hitting the car because that's how high I would come to the bike. So my parents got fed up and bought me a BMX. And so I would fix everything that would go wrong with it, right? So as a child, I've always been good at taking things apart. And then in college, I'm a child of an immigrant. I'm an immigrant myself. I was a doctor, right? African parents. You only make it if you're a doctor. Everything else, rubbish. Like rubbish. Our kid didn't make it. We have no doctors in the family. But I knew even at 17, I don't have the bedside manner to be polite and be like, hey, this is what I'll tell you what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And I'm not very empathetical, like to be a patient. With the facts. And my ex was building a car. So I was really having a good time designing, the battery box in the back. Mm-hmm. So I ran out of classes. And I decided, well, I really like working with my hands. So what can I do that makes work with my hands that makes a lot of money?
There you go.
So I went down the catalog and I was like, mechanical engineering.
So I wasn't too far off with that.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's how and by the time I found out it was really hard, it was too late to quit. I was like, well, I'm this far in, might as well get it done.
And do you still love it?
I do. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change
it. Good. Yeah. Because, being a mechanical engineer affords you the ability to do some of these crazy things, right? Things that I'm sitting here going, oh my God, that's crazy. So what I want to talk about is I feel like your top value is adventurous. You are adventurous. I feel like you said a minute ago that you're an adrenaline junkie. And I just remember, following one of your posts on social media, and you were like, I can't remember which country it was, but you were out of the country with how many people? Just Faith. Oh, I met these nice people and blah, blah. I was like, girl, you there backpacking through these countries by yourself? Oh, yeah.
I don't speak the language.
And you don't even speak the language. What the hell? Faith, I can't even fathom. You can't by yourself. That might be too much information on the podcast, but you can't by yourself. You travel to different countries by yourself. How are you that person sitting here today who is so fearless that is not afraid of, oh, somebody's going to knock me over my head. Somebody's going to rob me and steal my money and not be paranoid about everything. How did you become that person?
Well, the thing is, I do think about those, right? Okay. So like when I'm camping, I'm aware of my environment, knowing, okay, so the people next to me know I'm here alone, right?
Okay.
When I'm out, like this past weekend, I was out and I did a 30-mile bike ride, mountain biking. Yeah. And so I'm aware that, okay, that's a male that just passed me, right? So I'm aware of my environment. But I think what drives me too is, but if I didn't go out there and do it, when would I do it, right? Because I can wait until I have someone to do it with me, but I'm not guaranteed to be here tomorrow. So that's kind of how I live my life. You and I aren't guaranteed we'll be here Monday, right? True. So if I wait until I find someone to do it with me, that time may never come, right? Right. So like the going to a new country thing, after I graduated college, I made a rule that I'll go to a new country every year. So I make plans, and once I've been able to go with a friend, but most of the time is by myself, Mm-hmm. So New Year's Eve, we were in Chile, riots, tear gas, and me and 3 people I just met from like 6 different countries are running through the street at 4 a.m. in Chile. And it's just like an amazing time.
You can't even make that shit up, can you?
Go to chill it before I found out there was like massive riots going to the country. And I was like, well, how bad could it be? Let's go check it out.
Wow. And there was no time that you were terrified, you're scared. You're just like, this is an adventure. This is an experience.
It's an experience, right? And it's, yeah, it's,
wow.
I think a lot of people are scared to go out and do that step and wait until they have a partner or a friend to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
But what if it never comes?
I mean, that's a great valid point right there. But I think of those things as well, Faith, and I want to do everything that I came here to do.
Yeah.
But there's something like I want you to give me whatever that is you're drinking or smoking or eating, ingesting, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That would make it easier for me to take those leaps of faith. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't snorkel. I didn't learn to snorkel or felt confident enough to snorkel until like 8 or 9 years ago. So like, what is that? I mean, outside of just thinking we're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow, but there's still a little something extra.
I think for me is also my background and growing up. I am the oldest of 4 kids, and my other siblings are really close together. So I almost had this only child, right, where I didn't really have anyone to play with, you know, dealing of bikes to go ride. My sisters are 2 years apart, and then my brother, I'm 18 years, right, older than him. So I usually say I'm his cool mom because the age difference. I'm really his mom. And I'm not really close with my parents or my family. So there's that dynamic where I've kind of been a loner in my family. So from a really early age, I learned to be good being alone and entertaining myself.
Okay.
So I think that has kind of molded me to have this personality where I can just pack a bag and go away for 2 weeks. And I usually don't have an agenda. I figure out what I want to do when I get there.
How do you deal with that?
I have some close friends are like, yeah, this is the right man to run our country. And so I have had a lot of wine and thought about it. And we've debated even together, a lot of wine as well. But I've decided that, you know, this is a personal thing and they're entitled from their beliefs for what they want. And so I've decided for me not to lose really close friends that love me and would come pick me up from anywhere I am, would bail me out of jail without asking a question.
Right.
I'm just going to take that and set it aside as not a factor in our friendship.
Wow. I mean, that really is living.
Yeah.
Like, I think, you know, you'll be 110 and there won't be anything else you can think of to do. You will have done it all. I really feel that way. Oh my goodness. So being born in Kenya, you speak Swahili, right?
I speak 3 languages.
3 languages. I forgot that. Oh my God. Which 3?
So English, Swahili. So Kenya has 2 national languages, English and Swahili, and then my tribal language, which is Nandi.
Wow. And are you able to use those like in your everyday life right now?
No, I just spoke with my grandfather the other night, and it's like Swahili is easy, but Nandi, like I have to pause and translate from English Swahili to Nandi.
Yeah.
So by the time I get to that, he's already laughing at me because it's just I don't use it. And so when I speak, my family, my parents are educated, so we spoke English the second we landed here. And in Kenya, we went to a private school, so in terms of learning English, we were already pretty far along. Wow.
Now, so what age were you? Because you graduated from a high school in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, 8th grade.
8th grade. My goodness. What was that like for you? That whole experience of coming from Kenya. Now you're in Minnesota.
In September. Like the world is freezing and they were still in summer. We didn't know there was going to be a negative in front of them.
Like it feels scary. Oh my God.
I think for me, it wasn't really much actually of a culture shock, but I think it comes with my personality where it was a new place, a new adventure, right? I transitioned very well into school, but it was also interesting where my school was switched 2 weeks before I started school, and the neighborhood next to us is it's called Maple Grove. It was an all-white school at the time.
Okay.
And they were trying to integrate and bring diversity into that school. So we were supposed to go what you'd consider like the ghetto part of school.
Right.
And for me from Kenya, I was like, this is amazing, right? But there, you know, in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, that was the school you don't want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks before we got a letter, my school had been changed. So I went from Kenya to an all-white school. And I've looked back, and I think that has also definitely changed, you know, how I integrated into the US, right? Because my friends and everyone were almost white, right? We literally had a short bus that would take like 6 Mexican kids and like 10 Black kids, and we went back to town.
Mm-hmm.
and they were like, look, we are diverse. We stayed in one classroom.
We are diverse. True melting pot it is.
Yeah. So it wasn't, I can't look back and say, oh, this was traumatic. I think the only thing that is still sticks with me that I would say was a culture shock coming to the US was like my first racist experience was in that middle school, all white, where this girl was yelling at me and, you know, saying, I hate you because you're Black. That was my first ever. I think it was like a year of moving here. And it was just this cute little blonde girl, very nice. And so the principal were calling parents, and she says like, no, my family doesn't like Black people. And I remember asking the principal, I'm very rational, I've always been, I was like, why does she hate me? And she doesn't even know who I am. And why does she hate me for my color?
Well, that's very rational.
You know? I think those are the discussions. And I remember the principal and the teacher going, you know, it's just you know, it's probably not her, but because you kids, it's the environment and that her parents are, you know, bringing her up in. So I still think about that. I'm like, that woman is out there somewhere right now, probably potentially have her own kids. I'd be so curious to sit with her, like you and I are sitting.
Yeah.
Who have you become after that? Yeah. So that's like the only thing after moving here, though. You didn't get that in Kenya, right? So it's like.
And it's so cool that you were so rational and level-headed with that, because most people be like, what? I don't know. I mean, you just would have gone right back at it, and maybe you'd have been suspended because you'd have like knocked her on her ass or something.
Yeah. I'm too rational sometimes. That's just I've been told, like, don't be such a robot. Sometimes I can just be.
Where does that come from? Is that from your parents?
No, that's just from maybe an insecure someone I dated for a hot minute.
But not before 8th grade.
Oh, no. No, I've always been, very rational. Yeah.
Huh. And so I feel like the little girl spewed all that stuff, and then you played several scenarios through your head before you responded.
You don't even know me.
You don't even know me. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, because most of us don't stop to think about that.
Yeah.
Just react, and we just see fire engine red. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So Faith, do you, I know you used to live here in Arizona. Now you're in the great city of Austin, right?
Yes.
And how has this pandemic changed you, either for the better or, how has it affected you?
I didn't become an alcoholic. That's what I was worried at the beginning. So that's good.
So much easier.
So I moved here, and then 6 months in, right, the pandemic started. And I only know my one set of friends here. So I don't really know anyone here. They're raising 3 young kids.
Yeah.
And I was traveling 50% for work. So I really didn't know the city. But I think for me, the second half was really emotional, especially I think the, I don't know if we're ready to jump into it, but the George Floyd thing.
Yeah.
It has been an emotional that allowed me to self-reflect a lot in what is it do I want to do with myself, right? I'm in a place in my life where I was like, I'm too comfortable, right? From like, I don't know, job, financially, and I don't really have a lot of stressors in my life, right? I'm single, I don't have kids, so literally it's, I get up, I go for a workout, I go to work, have a glass of wine and go to bed.
Yeah.
So I think, what's happened and taken course in the last 7 months in society and everything has really pushed me to try to find something that I do for someone else, right? So actually right now I'm trying to come up, either it's like a charity, to support a school in Kenya, and also trying to be a little bit more proactive about supporting the Black community where
Yeah.
right? So I think that's something that the slowdown of the pandemic allowed me to, because I'm always driving, like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always doing something. Didn't really allow me to pause and say, what am I doing for someone else, right? Faith is
Yeah.
completely taken care of. What
Mm-hmm.
am I doing for someone else? So I'd say, if nothing else, I think the positive outcome for me from the pandemic would be I'm definitely going to be a more socially active person for someone else.
Right.
For me, across the board social and doing what I want,
Mm-hmm.
but donating a day or two out of my week for someone else.
Wow. That's incredible. That touches me so much. And speaking of, I think just 2020 is just really shining a magnifying glass on the things because everybody's got a phone, everything's recorded.
Yeah.
All that dirt that was swept under the rug is now visible for everyone. And you were speaking to it, it just as a Black person, I've had my moments where, like I've had some of my relatives who said, well, you're not Black enough, you don't care enough. And I was like, what does that mean? And so there are lots of times when I think maybe I'm not doing enough because I'm not a person who will go out there and protest. And maybe I should, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like that is my calling, And so you're like, you're donating a day or so each week, because it's touching us on such a different level than it ever has before. I
Yep.
read through one of your posts because I know you run, like
Yeah.
that's actually how we met you through Ragnar, because it's like, if we need somebody to run 32 miles in 18 minutes,
And it was
it's Kenya.
I was
It
around
was.
in Facebook. I was like, do you guys need a runner? I just, I
Yes.
don't know anyone.
Yes. And it's been so great. Yep. Because of Ragnar. And that was in 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just when you posted about, Ahmaud Arbery,
Yeah.
it could have been, Faith, who is running and not to return home again. And one thing that you said that is so poignant to me is, how do we resolve the gap between whites and all the other races? Because it's almost October, we're days from an election. What would be your solution, Faith?
I'm already having nightmares about November 3rd, by the way.
Oh, me too.
2 weeks ago, I dreamt that I overslept through the voting day.
No. Wow.
um, I'll reverse a little bit going to like the all-white school.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think some of the things for me that the Minnesota thing hit me a lot because Minnesota is home.
Yeah, George
I've
Floyd.
always
Yeah.
said if I were to have kids, I would go back to Minnesota, right?
Okay.
And seeing that was for me was, did I live a white Minnesota, right? Because it shone a light to me that I'd never seen Minnesota. That first week of the George Floyd incident was really hard for me emotionally because
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't go out and like talk to friends. I was at home in my apartment just feeding Facebook Live videos from street.
Yeah.
From 2130s, we were like marching, going clubbing, and now they're on fire downtown.
Right. And you recognize all that stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, that's First Street. That's the
Mm-hmm.
famous bar, and just seeing all that. So for me, I was like, if I lived a white America, right, is the neighborhoods I live in. So I think to your question about bridging the gap between the whites and other races, I think it's integration. I think it's showing that there's more to us than just color, but you don't see that unless you spend time with each other.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for me is, I've talked to a lot of friends about this, and I truly believe it's starting with the kids, right? Because if you catch the kids before they develop the biases,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot easier than trying to teach a 50-year-old, right? That, hey,
Yeah.
you're okay with your neighbor. The 50-year-old can learn to adapt, but those biases that are built in that they react to that they don't even know, it's
Mm-hmm.
influencing their decision. Those are a lot harder to change,
Yeah.
right? Versus kids that don't develop those biases already, So
Mm-hmm.
it's us as a society saying, you know what, this instead of cutting zip codes, it's going to say this neighborhood or schools, even if the bus has to drive 40 miles, is we're going to work hard to integrate our kids. And parents also have to make the commitment that at home, that's also the message they're going to preach. We're all the same.
Yeah.
Right? So that, a generation of two, when those kids raise their kids, it's less and less biases, right? Because we have a lot that we all start with 0 when we were born.
Right.
And all those biases built in of what we feed from our environment, from school, friends.
Yeah.
That we think it's starting with the children, but all of us who are raising the kids have to be in that, The all-white neighborhoods have to be a little bit uncomfortable by having the Black neighbors next to them. And, if I were to run a country, I'd say abolish what we call, maybe the ghetto or the all-white. It's just like, this is, as a society, we are going to pay to pave this. This is the neighborhood. This is where Black people live, I do a lot of road biking, and I can notice when I'm in Black neighborhoods, and
it's rough.
It breaks my heart. And the signs, it's like, I can tell as the street sign change when I am in neighborhoods where people look like me, when it's arrest record, erased, call this number, mug shot, right?
Yeah.
And then I look at the people walking those streets are people like me. And then when I go to the nice, what I would call the white neighborhood is, the BMWs, Audi, no bus stops. You can see that, right? As a society, we need to agree together that we won't have that. We were going to set and reset everyone at an equal bar, right?
Right.
It's hard.
It is hard, because what happens to the people who are resistant to that change?
Yeah.
What do you do with those people? Guantanamo Bay?
I don't think you can win them all, right? I believe in the 80-20 rule. If we get 80% of the people into it,
right,
we are all humans and we're all entitled to our beliefs. But if we get majority of the people agreed upon, you're always going to have your outliers and your minorities on a spot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's okay. It brings flavor into society, right?
Yeah. Wow. So I know that you are very accepting and loving of everyone. Would you say Faith is colorblind when she chooses her friends? I had someone debate me on that before.
Of me being?
No, just in general, because I said, we're all colorblind. It was like, So what's your take on that?
I would say no. And it's something that I definitely, by no, I mean, yes, I am. Let me rephrase, I only, so far as at 33, I've only dated white men. I think I don't know.
We like what we like.
Mine though is, I'm rational and I've done a lot of self-reflecting in that way. Is that I'm not even American, right? I'm African. So it's not like I grew up with, white guys around me.
Right.
I'm a teenager in Kenya. But I've looked back and I think going to all-white school at 13, had an influence in that. And it's that the few Black boys that were in my school were always getting in trouble and going to the principal's office, and so I ended up growing an attraction for, Jimmy over there, the redhead in the corner.
The ginger.
So I've recognized in my mind, honestly, I have always found myself to gravitate toward, I would say, white people, but I've always asked myself, because if I look at my friend network right now, right, I wouldn't say I have like a close Kenyan friend. I actually don't know anyone Kenyan in Arizona right now. I have my first probably really African-American friend here in Texas, because I met on a road bike and she chased me down to say hello because I passed her.
Because there goes a Black woman.
Exactly. And she goes, hey, do you want to ride with us sometime? Because she went extra mile. Otherwise, I was gone. But I'm also a mechanical engineer, and I took honors math. So the environment of people that were always around me were more white people. And then I went to mechanical engineering school, which was mostly just white men. Point. But that's really not an excuse, because I haven't done work to seek like Black friends either, right? So I would definitely say that I tend to gravitate that way, and that is something I have thought a lot too in the last 6 months, because I looked in and say, okay, what are you doing today, right? And if I look at the friends I have, they're almost all white, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's definitely something that I need to work on, right? And it's because of my environment, but that to me comes off as an excuse, right? I haven't formed a Black women's mountain biking group, right? Because that's one of the passions.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say, is it yes, I am colorblind disorder, or no, I'm not? It's yes, I am.
Yes.
No.
Well, no, because, I think it's a dichotomy of either. I do. I mean, yeah, it's a tough question.
Yeah, because I would say, because I don't want to answer, because I say, if you look at the evidence presented, I would say yes, because almost probably I would say 90% of my friends are of Caucasian. Yeah.
So, Faith, what happens when it's just, oh my God, it makes my blood boil. Like you said, you were already starting to have nightmares because it's just different. This election is just different.
It's
like
very,
because I feel like I never felt this way when George W. was running. I was like, okay, he's a Republican, I'm a Democrat, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's no big deal. It's just so different now. So
it's
with
the enemy almost. It's
like,
because before it was just like, okay, this is what you believe in. Now it's like fighting an enemy.
It is, because he has spewed so much negativity towards us. And I, have never taken so many things so personally from a president my entire life. So Faith, with most of your friends being Caucasian, what happens when one or two of them are like, 2020, baby, make America great again? That's who I'm voting for. How do you deal with that?
I have some close friends are like, yeah, this is the right man to run our country. And so I have had a lot of wine and thought about it. And we've debated even together, a lot of wine as well. But I've decided that, this is a personal thing, and they're entitled from their beliefs for what they want. And so I've decided for me not to lose really close friends that love me and would come pick me up from anywhere I am, would bail me out of jail without asking a question.
Right.
I'm just going to take that and set it aside as not a factor in our friendship.
Wow. And that's hard.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard, because I feel like for the first time in my life, when I see my white ally vote for him, I feel like it's a total strike against who I am.
Yep. And for me, is I can't comprehend of how, especially when you yourself are raising daughters, is this the man and the future for your daughters? Right. You want, regardless of the race you are in, just what's done to
Look
women.
At the example.
Yeah, is that your role model that you want your children to go under? So I just bottle that up and say, you know what? We're all adults, and he is a president, and I've tried to say, you know what, don't be a sore loser. This is how it works. You have to respect who's won, but I just can't.
It's just different.
Well, and for me, I'm an immigrant, so I look back. If he had been president 20 years ago, I would never had the opportunity that I have, and I wouldn't be here, right? It's because in his mind, or what at least I feel, anyone like me coming here is here to destroy, the country, what America holds pure. And then I look at what I do, and we're the exact opposite. I don't know if you read deep enough to that post about I pay my, there was another one I put on Twitter, and I actually deleted that. But it was like, I pay my taxes, right? I'm educated, I pay my taxes. And I think I put on this, what more can I do to be accepted in this society? I've checked all the boxes, but when I still go to my high-rise apartment, people won't press the button to get me upstairs because I don't look like I belong. Wow. But then a white guy will not only won't he be let in at 1 a.m. on the front door, they'll all say, what floor are you going? And ping him because you need a key card to get to every floor. And I, in my sweaty running clothes, can't even get upstairs.
Right.
And him at 1 a.m. And even with this guy, we were talking about seriously, like, if you are a 6'2" Black man, they would not have only not let you in the door, they would have probably called the police. You know, and that's
Right.
the world we live in, you know?
It's true.
And those are, and you know, you think back, it's like these are street nice people, but these biases, they may not even realize, right? What
Right.
that's going back to the kids is you got to catch them before they develop those biases. They don't even know they're doing it.
Right. Yeah, that was the post where you were saying that, you know, no one chooses the color of their skin, but some of us will spend our lifetime apologizing for it, and some are killed for it.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt the internal need, like you just regret it in that moment, you hated being Black because of things like that, like the example you just shared?
I don't think I've gone as far as hating, but I think it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't say I would, you know, and again, it's probably my personality and, you know, but it's exhausting because I don't think a week would go by that nothing that doesn't trigger that reminder.
Right.
Right. And it's even like, you know, going for a run in a neighborhood and no one is probably looking at me, but if I know I'm in an upclass iron neighborhood that I'm running or riding my bike, like actually yesterday, you know, it's like the rolling hills of Texas, the 1%ers, beautiful homes. And I think, I wonder if they think I'm scoping the place, right? Because I stopped because I got a text from my coworker and I was responding and then I took a picture and I was like, I wonder if they think I'm taking a picture of their house, you know?
Right.
But things like no one is probably even thinking about it. People are just like, oh, there's a lady going out for a bike ride.
Right.
Then I have to think about that.
Of
right?
course. We got to try to be one step ahead to make sure we're not scaring people off.
You know, it's like, and I've never had an incident where, you know, some Black men I've had where they've had their cops call on them because they're out on a bike ride.
Yeah.
But because of that triggers me to think about it when I'm out riding. So you're always self-aware of your environment, right? That how am I acting, right? Am I being suspicious to someone?
Yeah.
Even though there's even nothing, I'm by myself in a street. It just happens to be a really rich neighborhood.
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah. And see, and again, fearless right there, because you're like off riding 40, 50, 30 miles. I'm like, I'm going to ride the canal path because I'm going to go to Tempe and I might go to Gilbert, but that's it. And if I get off of that canal path, somebody else will be with me. And so, yeah, so I'm going to have you mail me some of what that is. So, yeah. So Faith, thank you so much for sharing all of that. In your entire 33 years, what would you say has been your absolute biggest challenge? Like you just didn't think you were going to overcome it. Your back was up against the wall. Walk us through that and how you overcame it.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I have one for you that I've overcame.
Okay.
But I could share one that I'm trying to overcome.
Absolutely. Would love it.
And it goes back to, you know, trying to be active. And I think we just did a personality test at work about different personalities. And
Which one? Which test?
so it's called DISC.
The DISC, Tony Robbins. Yeah.
So you can guess I am the strongest dominant as you can. I'm like at the edge of falling off.
Right. I'm the I.
You're the I, yeah.
And yeah. Isn't that right? Nice. Nice.
One of our shortcomings is a fear of failure. You know, and I really always wanted to do something for charity. And I've always put it off. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I really need to do something for charity. And there's still something holding me back from doing it, you know? And I think doing this test has really shown me is you're strong, you're driven for results, but one of the things is being afraid of failure, right? Because I'm Kenyan and, you know, once several years I go back to Kenya, I come back and say, okay, I'm gonna come up with something to help people in Kenya. And then a month later, it's back to routine, right?
Right.
So I've started to engage people to try hold me accountable, and I'm working on creating like a bike riding charity where if you're going to ride 20 miles, you pay $20. And then if it's digging a well for a school in Kenya, we do that. So that's a challenge and a personal, I think it's a really important personal growth for me. I think about if I'm on my deathbed tomorrow, this is the one thing that I'll probably regret is not getting an opportunity to help someone else, right?
Okay.
Even if they don't need to know me, but I give back because I take a lot from society, right? I take the experiences, but I haven't really given experiences, and that's something that I've really wanted to do for as long as I can remember, but I just haven't done it yet. And I'm still working on how to overcome that. So, I think we've identified a pilot school in Kenya, and I'm hoping by January we can get our first bike ride in Arizona. So you may be going on a bike ride.
Yeah, I'll be all about it.
Yeah.
So something that you just said, you said you take experiences. So I feel like you are someone who creates those experiences, you know?
Yeah. I guess that would be a way to put it, right? Because I guess I take from society the experience, right? Like going to Chile, going to Peru, right? I'm going and taking that experience in.
Right.
Yeah.
At this point in your life, I mean, my goodness, you're 33. Again, let me bring that up 5 more times. And look at all that you've done. Do you feel like you have been intentional and purposeful in creating the life that you're living today? Because all the things that you're doing right now, you're living on your terms. This is like it just seems so intentional. Is it? Has it been?
It is. Yes. And I think, again, the way I try to live my life is, experience today because you may not have tomorrow, but also plan like you're going to live to 90, right? Yeah. So that's just have a 401k account, right? So that you can still at least retire. We're still going to spend a lot of nights in Napa Valley after we retire. So we got to make sure we're saving for that.
Nice.
But yes, it has been, right? So I've always, even in my career with promotions and everything, is I set a plan, I communicate that plan, and I ask for those experiences, right? I remember my last job, I got promoted. And then the next day I went back to my director's office and I was like, Scott, I know you just promoted me. And he goes, Jesus, Faith, you haven't even done anything for me. I promoted you yesterday.
Jesus, Faith.
And I told him, and I was like, no. Thank you for the promotion, but I want you to know that I'm open for experiences, and I'm open for if you ever want anyone relocating. It could be tomorrow, it could be a year from now. Wow. But you don't know what I want unless you know what I'm open for.
Yeah.
And 6 months later, they gave me $25,000 to go work in Minnesota for 9 months. From there, they sent me to Ireland.
Yeah.
Right? And right, you guys were seeing my post.
Yeah.
So, but I asked for it, right? I was just like, I don't know if it's anything is happening, but if you're ever in any experience, anyone to travel. So I try, even with here, is I set those expectations and I drive for it, right? I just started this job a year ago, and my 6th month, I had a meeting with my boss. We usually just do phone call. And I was like, hey, can we do a video conference? And I shared a Visio chart of this is where I want to be in 5 years.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Wow.
I was like, at year 2, this is the title I'd like to have. And at year 5, this is the title I want to have. And I want to work together about what I can do. What experiences do I need to show to perform so that I can meet these goals that I've set up?
And his reaction was?
Let's just say that there was something, there was a contract that was given to me 2 weeks later that was very good.
Holy shit. People
here for probably 10 years.
Wow. Because just the foresight to sit and do something like that. Most people receive coaching from a business coach to know to do that.
Yeah.
How did you know to do something like that?
Oh, it's just where do I want to be, right? Like, what do I want to do in 5 years? And again, with me, it's experiences, right? So if I
Yeah.
want to buy that expensive road bike, this is kind of where I want my income to be at.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, and again, it's just like right now I'm looking into getting an MBA, in the next couple of years. So I sent an email to them and say, I'm a single home income, and he knows. So, and I was like, is the company willing to help pay for my MBA? And I
Oh,
know HR doesn't formally pay for it, but why
right.
not ask?
But because the answer is always no unless you ask, right?
Yeah, and so actually they're looking into that because a
Great.
department can choose to do it, just the
Yeah.
company doesn't. So it's just asking for what you want, right?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Which seems so much easier said than done.
Well, and I think, and I don't know about your clients and audience, but I don't get a lot of disappointed a lot in life, right? Because it's life, but the world doesn't owe you anything. And I think people
Yeah.
go around in life saying, well, this happened to me. So what? The world doesn't owe you anything. Create what you want. And life is a roller coaster, right? It's not
Yeah.
all gonna be good. And like when I'm driving and someone is being dumb, I don't honk. I just pause. I'm like, I don't know what kind of day they're having. Maybe they're
Right.
stressed. Maybe it's just let them
Yeah.
let them be. And if someone is rude to you, it's like, I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah.
Not a
Yeah.
problem. It's just
Right.
so alert in other things. Like, why is this happening to me? It's like, it's life. Why shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Right?
The
It's just,
victim mentality all the time.
yeah, it's just like, no, you create the life you want and understand that if this was always happy, that's unrealistic either, So it's like
Yeah.
sometimes someone steals something from you, right? Like I went and got my car detailed washed,
Uh-huh.
and I forgot I had a couple of 20s in my cigarette, port
Right.
thingy, because I usually don't want to carry like $100 in my purse, so I just grab a 20 when I need it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a couple of 20s missing, right? And for my thought was just like, oh, shit happens. Once in a while, someone will steal something from you. I
Yeah.
didn't call to come. This things
Right.
happen.
Right.
You know?
And hopefully it went to a good cause. Maybe they really needed it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's life. I have my health. Yeah. Things happen in life.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. Love that. Faith, how are you so confident in who you are? I want to speak to again, so many things that I admire about you. Like I love short hair. If it were up to me, I would go as short as you.
Yeah.
But then I would really be, sir, senor. We go on vacation and I'm swimming and my hair is slick and I'm senor. Shelly gets, oh, senora, because she's got long hair.
I've got no, hey, dude. Oh, hey, ma'am. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. When you turn around, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, excuse me, I'm feminine from the back, too.
Right. Look at my butt. Right. Yeah. But it's like, and especially like being from New Orleans, a
Yeah.
lot of my family members have short hair also. But
Ah.
it's hard for me to I feel like I'm a very confident person in
Yeah.
certain things. Like I'm not going to cut my hair off like tomorrow.
I went from here to buzz cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I moved to Arizona, I had like hair down,
Uh-huh.
chemically treated. It's just hot. It's Arizona.
It is
So I
hot.
went
Yeah.
here and I was just like, it grows back. So let's just cut it off and see how it looks. Because I had a
Right.
really big head as a kid. I've grown into it. But I was worried after we cut it off, this square would come out.
I had a big head. Oh my goodness.
I was the fattest kid. I'll have to
No.
do a picture sometime.
No
I was
way.
literally just white and just big cheeks. Yeah, I don't know how my mom got
Well, you're
that.
a string bean now.
I got it out. The first 6 years of
Okay.
my life, I got
Okay. Wow. So you think just confidence is just something that's just natural within you?
Yeah, because for me, it's like it'll grow back if I don't like it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I guess
yeah.
don't worry too much about what other people think. And
Easier said than done.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what a trait that I didn't learn. I was lucky enough that the code that made this faith
Yeah.
doesn't worry too much about what other people think, because I just go off and do my thing. But I think with the confidence, it's also, I think for me, I'm so confident that it also deters like being single, right? It's very hard, I
Because
think,
you're too much.
someone to manage this.
Oh, right. Because that may be intimidating.
It feels good like the first 2 weeks, and then you're like, okay, this is a lot.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
I know that about myself too, right? Is, the confidence I think also sometimes comes with, but it's not that I'm going to change, right? This is what
It's who you are.
But it just, I think, takes longer to find someone who's willing to tackle the strong-headed, stubborn woman that I am.
Right. And I've never been a witness to any of your stubbornness. I just have only seen examples of your loving, kind, like so just affectionate and just one of the sweetest people I will ever know. And so I don't even know where that stubbornness comes from. So just a couple more questions, Faith. I know if you go in there with your 5-year plan, I know you have a bucket list. Tell me 3 things that are on that bucket list.
Man, I should have gotten notes for this. You should have this earlier. I'd have better answers. I'm going to be texting you tomorrow. Maybe this would have been a better answer.
But see, it's fresh now. It's really fresh. It's authentic. So I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, it's hard to have a bucket list because I just go and do it.
Yeah.
It's like buying me gifts. It's like, if I wanted it, I would already.
You just go do it.
Or I would already have it. Yeah. So it's hard to buy me gifts because I was like, a gift card to REI so that next time I want something, I can buy.
Okay.
Bucket list for me, I don't know if it'll happen, but I would love to ride my, do a cross-country backpack riding on a bicycle, on a mountain bike.
Yeah.
Spend 3 weeks self-supporting across like a 300-mile trail. I looked that to do it during the pandemic, and I was like, okay, Faith, you're going to really get yourself killed. You're going to go in the woods with bears. Because I started even looking at buying things.
Oh, wow. You started planning.
Yeah, and then I was like, that may be too much for you to tackle by yourself. Make some friends first.
Well, especially being a woman. See, that's something that terrifies me. Yeah. Wow. Speaking of that, so before you go to number 2, one of our good friends, Sergio, just finished this past weekend. He went up to the Canadian border, rode his bike all the way down to New Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, that sounds like a good time.
He said it was one of the best times in his life.
Yeah.
He'll miss the open road. He's glad to be back with his family and stuff, but all he had to worry about was, I hope I don't get a flat. Where am I going to sleep tonight?
Hydration and water.
Yeah.
It's very weird. It's a mental thing. Like, people ask me, why are you going to sit on your bike for 7 hours? It goes by quickly, but maybe again, it goes back to, there's so much going up here. I just hang out with my, Tomorrow I'm going to go on a 6-hour bike ride, and and I think it gives me the opportunity to have all these discussions that I do with myself. And I reflect, and I do a lot of reflective in life, Sometimes I'll ride and it's like, Faith, are you happy? And for the next 20 miles, I'll go through the different scenarios that are going on in my life, and I'll decide, if not, what I'm going to do to change it.
I love this. I love the check-ins that you, and the full conversations you have with yourself. I love it.
I know.
You don't need anybody else. You don't need no man.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right. So what would be a second bucket list item?
I would love to get a license skydiving if I could afford it.
Okay.
I've done it twice and I really enjoy it.
Of course you do. Of course you do. I'm not getting in a plane unless it's to fly me from country to country or city to city.
Or jumping off only because the plane is falling off.
It's a perfectly good plane. And when it goes, you can turn your electronic devices on. We're 10,000 feet up. There's no way I want to jump.
I think the coolest part was the first time I did it. I was tandem and it was cloudy and just falling through the clouds. It was just like, and then you come out and it was like Iowa farmland. It's like corn. But it's I don't know. It's like, I think it's that not having control. It's just exciting.
Does it feel like you're at Six Flags? It's like the drop, like the elevator, like the ride
drops.
No,
I hate that feeling.
See, that's all I think.
It goes like this, I'm like, oh, let's not do. I hate that.
Okay.
Skydiving, but he did ask me, you can make it do that.
Oof.
Deploy. I hate that feeling.
Me too.
So second would be, yeah, to like have $10,000 I can just spend to get my license to parachute.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. So like the second you are married and you have some kids, I just feel like your kids are going to be so well-rounded. They're going to be kids who grow up to take chances, to believe in themselves. And the reason why, you know, I know you said you're afraid to fail, but you do so much. So it's like you take so many chances. The couple of failures you probably have are no big deal.
Yeah.
and that's how it becomes no big deal, because you take so many chances, right? Yeah.
But I've always said if I do end up having kids, I feel sorry for them because I don't know what they'll rebel against. Because I'm listening to Disturbed, like we'll be rocking in the car, and then the next one will also be listening to like classical music. So I don't know, and then we'll be snowboarding in trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, those are such priceless experiences. And I wish, you know, like now, I mean, I just had my 50th birthday.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, damn it, why didn't I do some of these things 30 years ago?
You should see me when I go to a Disturbed concert and people are like, is that a Black person?
Who's rocking out more than we are?
I went to their concert. I thought it was a concert, so I like wore a white sparkly shirt, and it was, you know, Disturbed is a rock band, and everyone was like goth. So I even stood out more. I'm like, who's going out clubbing?
That would be Faith.
That would be nice.
Oh,
and then
my goodness.
Songs come up, like, and she can sing all the songs.
Yeah, no, every word. Wow. Oh, that's so cool. It's been so cool to catch up with you today, Faith. I love it, love it, love it. Love the time we've been able to spend together.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We'll have to catch up when I'm in Arizona next time.
Yes. If people wanted to hang out and catch up and make contact with you, what's your preferred method of contact? Like, give me your Twitter handle, all those. Oh, are you still on Twitter, or did you delete the whole account?
No, I'll delete it after the election. That's where I get my feed right now.
There we go. Okay.
Going on.
Okay.
I don't participate. I just take in.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay.
What a wonderful leader is saying for the day.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Because that's the podium. That's the platform. Twitter.
That's how you lead a country.
On Twitter. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
Insult other people.
Yep.
Instagram would be good.
Okay. Instagram, where you're FE_01.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
No Faith. I need to change to my, like, people are like, why don't you have your Faith? I've never changed it. It was just, I think my ex bought me, a couple of exes bought me roses, and I was like, oh, I should start Instagram, and that was it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. So Faith, thank you for sharing so much. This has been such a delight, such a great conversation. And these are the conversations, honestly, that I love to have when we're hanging out, having a beer. And most people are like, what you talking about? What? Why are you asking me all that? That is the exact reason why I wanted to start a podcast, so I can have real conversations about stuff that I'm really interested in knowing about a person.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Thank you for sharing so much of yourself, Faith.
Thank you.
All right. If you like what you're hearing, and perhaps you're interested in having a complimentary conversation with me, click the link at the bottom of the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. If you even want to know more about what I'm up to, head over to traviastewart.com. And if you like seeing the videos of the podcast, every episode is on my YouTube channel. Take care, guys.